This is Pressers by FedNet, where news conferences from the United States Congress become podcast episodes for your listening on your time. Senate leaders held separate press conferences on April 29th outside the chamber. Republicans led by Majority Leader John Thune discussed 100 days of the Trump administration, President Trump's record on border security, and more. Whip John Barrasso, Republican Policy Committee Chair Shelley Moore Capito, and Conference Vice Chairman James Lankford followed Thune. The following material is protected by copyright.
How come you guys aren't joining the Kramer gaggle? That's a
wrong press conference. Dakotas.
Well, good afternoon. Today marks the 100th day of the Trump presidency, and I think it has been a very historic 100 days. And in my view, you could be described as promises made and promises kept. And if you look right across the board, all the things the president campaigned on, said he was going to do, he is following through on those. And chief among those is what's happening at our southern border. The open borders policy that had been pursued by the Biden administration had led to all kinds of chaos at our southern border, lots of dangerous elements coming into the United States, and about, if you can believe this, 12,000 or so people per day coming across our southern border illegally. 12,000. You have a change of administration. President Trump takes office. That number plummets from 12,000 down to 230 a day. That's what we're looking at right now. And if you look at a year ago where we were, January, February, March, April, and those numbers, it's just as I described it. It's about a 94-95% drop in 1 year, thanks to the leadership of President Trump. And so as we think about what we need to do to support those efforts, obviously we are involved, as you all know, in a process up here. First step was budget resolution, which passed the House and the Senate before the Easter break. And now we're in the midst of the reconciliation bill, which is where we make law. And we intend in doing that to ensure that the president and his team have the resources they need to continue keeping our southern border secure. I think the American people made it very clear what they voted for last November. And obviously they are interested in making sure that we have good, strong military security, that we have good, strong border security, and that we have good, strong economic security in this country. And those are the things that this Republican Congress, this Republican Senate are committed to getting done. And we're going to continue in the next 100 days to do what we've been doing in the last 100 days, and that is delivering on the commitments and on the agenda that the American people want to see happen, and to work with the president and his team and our colleagues and counterparts in the House of Representatives to see those things be made a reality. Senator Barrasso.
Well, for the last 100 days, Republicans in Congress and the President of the United States have been working together, fighting for the American people. We all ran for office promising safety and prosperity for the folks of this great country. And we have a lot of work to do to fix the failures of the last 4 years of the Biden administration, to get our country back on track. Start with the border. You can see dramatic increases in the efforts to stem the flow of illegal immigrants from over 7,000 a day under Biden to now 7,000 a month under Trump. Making the border secure means we are making our communities safe. In terms of prices, you're seeing 50 different actions by Republicans on energy to make energy more affordable, specifically American energy. We're making it easier to produce energy right here. That's the record of 100 days of the Trump Republican administration. There's still more work to be done. We still need to do the good work of blocking the $4 trillion tax increase that the Democrats want upon the American people. We're going to do everything we can to stop it. There's more work to be done and another 100 days coming to get that work done.
Senator Capito.
Thank you. Well, we're all talking about the 100 days of the Trump administration, as you all are all writing about that as well. And I think Senator Thune actually brought this, but I brought a little chart that shows you the blue lines are the numbers of encounters under the Biden administration. The red lines in the first 3 months are the a number of encounters under the Trump administration. I mean, I think nothing spells success more than one of the biggest issues during the campaign, which was border security, which also leads to security in our communities. and security, not just within the country, but around the world. And so I say congratulations to President Trump. He said all along that he could do this, he would do this, and he would be effective. President Biden, on the other hand, said, I can't do anything. I can't do anything if the Congress doesn't act. It's beyond my responsibilities. This chart shows you that those were empty words. And so as we move to the next 200 days, I think it's important to note, too, these are, you have different types of, these are ones that are coming through the checkpoints. The ones that are the gotaways, which never get caught, are down 99%. There's deterrence that the president has put forward through his policies, and that's what's causing these numbers to come dramatically down with the support of us as the Senate and over in the House as well.
Senator Lincoln.
So we're 100 days into the presidency, but that also has included 100 days of work for this Senate. We actually started before the president was sworn in, obviously, as we were sworn in on the 3rd of January, but passing the Laken-Riley Act, doing a record number of nominations. We've done more nominations than under the first Trump administration, the Biden administration, or you go all the way back to the Bush administration. It's been 25 years since we've moved as many nominations as fast as we've been able to move. So we've been here weekends, as this group knows extremely well. We've been here very late at night multiple times to be able to work through the process because we are determined to be able to get things done for the American people. So that's involved dealing with energy permitting issues, which we've done over and over again to open up American energy. That is working through the process with the president on trying to be able to limit illegal immigration coming across our border, to secure our border, and to be able to deal with criminal aliens. We are a Senate determined to be able to get things done for the people in my state in Oklahoma and for our nation. And we've got a lot to get done, as this group knows extremely well because you've watched it. We are very determined on the budget aspects to dramatically reduce federal spending, to start knocking down $2 trillion worth of overspending that is still left over from the COVID time period, to be able to get that spending down, and to be able to make sure that we have a predictable low tax rate for the American people so we can continue to have a growing economy. That's the task for the several months, but that was set up in the first 100 days to be able to be successful, starting immediately in these times now as the House and the Senate work together with the President to be able to get this done.
Question. Good afternoon. Thank you. Can you characterize the difference in the response from congressional Republicans to President Trump this time around compared to 2017? They seemed a little skeptical of him in 2017. That's not the case now.
Well, I mean, I think we all watched what happened in November and the mandate he got from the American people. It was clear, it was decisive, and he had a clear message that he campaigned on, and he has been following through and delivering on that. And I think a lot of us who served with him in the last term also saw the effects and the results of a lot of the decisions that he made with respect to policy. And they were the right ones. And in the end, he was proven right when it came to the economy. It comes to the border, comes to national security. This is a president who has a clear vision of what he wants to accomplish on behalf of the American people, and I think he implemented that clearly in his first term. And as we begin the first 100 days of this term, I think all of us believe that we want to be good partners in making sure that the agenda that he campaigned on, in which the American people voted for, is accomplished and delivered on.
Senator, the poll has shown that Trump's numbers are underwater, that he is the least popular president in 7 decades at this point in his presidency. Is it time for the administration to change course, particularly when it comes to the economy?
Well, I think the numbers on the economy, as you point out, may be related with some respects to the policy discussion that's being held about tariffs. But if you look at overall the things that this president and we are going to work with him to achieve, whether it's lessening the regulatory burden, creating energy dominance, preventing the $4 trillion tax increase coming at the end of the year that Senator Barrasso talked about, or reducing federal spending and making the government more efficient, more economical, and a better return to the American taxpayer. Those are things that the American people supported. And I think when you're going through all this, you got to take the long view. And I think his policy decisions are the right ones. And I think over time, that will bear fruit. You will see the results of that, and he will, like he did in his first term, do some things for the economy that created economic conditions we hadn't seen in decades.
The White House press secretary called it a hostile and political act for companies like required to pay because of these tariffs?
Well, I mean, I think that's a conversation that the folks at Amazon will have to have with the White House, with the president. I think at the end of the day, again, this administration is going to be judged by the results that they get. And if, in fact, they get better trade deals that change the way that other countries have mistreated us or treated us unfairly through the years, people will view it as a success. And ultimately, you will see the economic conditions reflect that. And I think in the end, you're going to have inflation. It will be under control. But I understand, the short-term conclusions that people are drawing, or even some of the polling data that's out there. That is what it is. But the fact of the matter is that when you make policy decisions with a long-term outcome in mind, you've got to have some patience to get there. And I think that the discussion that they're having with Amazon is something that will be a discussion between the administration and the company leadership. But I don't for a minute believe that this administration isn't making the right decisions that lead us to the policy outcomes that are going to make the American people more safe, more secure, and more economically prosperous. We saw that in the first term, and I think they're doing the right things right now. But we've got to wait obviously the outcome of what this tariff debate ultimately looks like.
Reconciliation. Several of your Republican colleagues have asked you to take a very cautious approach when it comes to reconciliation and clean energy, IRA clean energy tax cuts, specifically some of those affecting your constituents, your farmers, sustainable aviation fuel, biofuels, biodiesel. Can you support a more surgical, cautious approach to reconciliation cuts in this area?
Well, I mean, we're going to ultimately what gets included in a reconciliation bill will be determined by what there are 218 votes for in the House and 50 votes in the United States Senate. And obviously there are differences of opinion about some of the various provisions in previous legislation and the one that you noted. And my guess is as we get further into these discussions, we will come up with a plan that gets us to 18 in the House, 50 votes in the Senate, ultimately 51 if the Vice President has to be involved. But to preserve the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and make sure that we have the right incentives in place for American energy production. And whether that's in the renewable space, the conventional space, I think most of us up here agree that an all-of-the-above energy strategy when it comes to American energy is the right one. And as we work through reconciliation, there will be some give and take, and obviously conversations around some of the energy policies and provisions that are in place today. But at the end of the day, it's about making America not only energy independent, but energy dominant. So, thanks, guys.
Senate Democrats, led by Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, marked Minority Whip and former Judiciary Committee Chairman Dick Durbin's announced retirement from Congress. Durbin was followed by Senators Amy Klobuchar and Cory Booker to discuss Trump's record on the economy. Schumer then fielded questions about Trump's approval ratings, illegal immigration, and more.
Can everyone, this is an eye chart to test your vision. What is the top number? I just went to the eye doctor, so I'm into that. Okay, well, first let me say I don't envy the Republicans having to come here and defend Trump's 100 days. It's not easy, and they had a lot of trouble with it. But I'm proud to be joined here by Senator Durbin. This is the first time Senator Durbin is coming to one of these gatherings since he announced that he was not going to run again. And you know how much we love him and going to miss him, but know he's going to do great things in the next year and a half as well. So, Dick, is the press allowed to applaud Dick Durbin? No. I will. Okay. Okay. Remember Sid Caesar? Have any of you heard of Sid Caesar? When he'd get applause, he'd go, "No, please, no." Okay.
The sound of one hand clapping.
Right, yes. Okay. Anyway, this week, as you know, marks the 100 days that Donald Trump has been in office. It is 100 days of chaos. From one end of the government and one end of the country to the other. So let's do a simple review. In these 100 days, what has gone up? Cost of groceries, up. Energy costs, up. Cost of clothes, of homes, of cars, up. What has dropped? Your retirement and 401ks, down. The stock market, down. The dollar, down. And today, we saw the trend continue. Consumer confidence, down. And that's not just a statistic. Consumers, when they don't have confidence, don't buy things. Businesses, when they see chaos, freeze. I have talked to business people, some of the biggest businesses, medium-sized businesses, and small businesses. They're all frozen. Even if Trump were to drop the tariffs, and who knows what the hell he'll do, I doubt he'll do that, the businesses don't know what he'd do 2 weeks later, so they're frozen. And that's why the chance of recession, not according to us, but according to banking experts, is so much greater than it was before. Americans are noticing. The polls this week show Trump has the lowest 100-day approval rating since they started polling 80 years ago, the lowest. Even worse, 72% of Americans think it's likely that Trump's handling of the economy will walk us directly into a recession. So, over the last 2 weeks, all of us have been in our states. There are 7 Republican districts in New York. I went to 6, talking about Medicaid, talking about Social Security, talking about tax breaks for the wealthy, talking about veterans. And the reaction was amazing. Republicans came from all over. On Long Island, I was at a place called Tandy Close. She's well known in Suffolk County. It's in a Republican district. And she's a Trump supporter, but she said, my costs are going up 30%. I'm just furious at what Trump is doing. And that's happening over and over again in every place we go. The Republican senators and congressmen know that they've got real trouble with this Trump agenda. And up to now, they've been able to hide it, obfuscate, say they don't exactly know what it is, say who knows. Well, now that the Republican House has started putting out its reconciliation bills, they can't hide. They can't hide. So this has happened all across our state. I won't get into the details there, but there's a feeling of incompetence, of indecision, and chaos eating away at much of the country, and that is emanating from the man who's in charge, Donald Trump. And Senate Republicans aren't just silent. They are complicit. They're going along with all of this. They are complicit. They are co-conspirators with Trump's horrible, horrible decisions for the country. Let's remember what Donald Trump said again and again and again on the campaign trail. He said, starting on day one, quote, we will end inflation and make America affordable again. A vote for Trump means your groceries will be cheaper, your energy costs and grocery prices will come tumbling down, and will bring back the American dream bigger, better, and stronger than before. Yet here we are, and Americans know the reality. Democrats will be taking to the Senate floor all night tonight to talk about how bad the 100 days have been, and about how our Republican colleagues are conspiring, co-conspirating to work to go along with Trump on things that the American people regard as very bad for them and their well-being. Senator Durbin.
Thanks, Joe. Let me start off by congratulating Donald Trump for being such a powerful, unifying force. In only 100 days, he took a divided nation and tipped the balance decisively. With his embarrassing, insulting, petty, and outrageous attack, Donald Trump has given Canada a new national resolve. He single-handedly revived the Liberal Party in Canada and spurred them to an historic victory yesterday. Now, if he could just be a positive, unifying force in the United States. Instead, for 100 days, Trump and his administration of billionaire buddies have caused chaos, wreaked havoc, and sowed division. He's undermined the Constitution, our system of checks and balances, and the rule of law. And through it all, my Republican colleagues have remained silent. Take Donald Trump's ill-conceived, mindless tariff tax war. which caused global markets to plunge, wiped trillions of dollars of wealth from the stock market, and will cause Americans to suffer from higher prices and smaller exports. While their constituents saw their retirement funds drain and grocery bills skyrocket, Republicans remained silent. Rinse and repeat this cycle. Donald Trump threatens to withhold federal funds from higher education institutions, to coerce them to give up their constitutional rights. Republicans remain silent. The Secretary of Defense violates national security protocol and shares classified war plans in Signal chat that mistakenly includes a journalist. Republicans remain silent. Unelected billionaire Elon Musk and his Doge brothers gut the federal government, leading to cuts to life-saving medical research, Americans unable to get their Social Security benefits, and threats to Medicaid. You guessed it, Republicans remain silent. Never in our nation's history has a co-equal branch of government so willfully rolled over and ceded their power. It is the silence of the lambs. The President is testing and violating the bounds of our Constitution, amassing power for himself as he tanks our economy, violating the rights of Americans, and destroying our image abroad. My congressional Republican colleagues have the power to stop it. They have majorities in both chambers, and at private moments, many of them express to us similar outrage and horror at what Trump is doing. But as the constituents suffer, out of fear of retaliation, Republicans remain silent. When we're elected members of Congress, our oath is to the Constitution, not to the President.
Senator Klobuchar.
Very good. Well, if you wondered how the great Senator Durbin's going to do for the next year and a half, you just saw it. Devoted to progress and devoted to taking this on. So, like so many of our colleagues, I spent the last 2 weeks in my state, 19-county tour, and here are two things that I learned that are highly relevant to what's going on here. Because as we have said, corruption is up, chaos is up, and costs are up. What did I see? I saw regular people, farmers showing up in small towns, populations of under 1,000, and sitting next to what were probably best defined as activists. One memorable moment, someone had a sign that said, "This is not normal," who was an activist that showed up. You've all seen those signs at these town halls. Next to a farmer who looked at her and said, "What does that mean? I'm normal." What that meant to me was he wasn't part of this big town halls, but he was showing up because of what was happening to him, soybean farmer, just living on the edge because of his input costs, because of weather events, because of some of the things we're seeing out there in farm country for costs and consolidation. And now what you add to it are these tariffs. His soybean market is going to dry up in China. But guess what? He wasn't invited to the White House like Tim Cook was. I'm glad Tim Cook saved his phones, but this guy, the soybean farmer, he doesn't have that phone number. He can't call to get an exemption. Or the woman who runs Busy Baby, maybe you haven't heard about it, but she was Minnesota Entrepreneur of the Year. She's got a business, innovative, with things for high chairs so the stuff doesn't fall off the high chairs. Guess what? She came up, she is dying right now. She can hardly make it. She didn't get invited to that Wall Street meeting with Secretary Bessent, with J.P. Morgan. She didn't know how to get into that thing. She doesn't got the insight. So who is the roadkill when it comes to this economy that Trump has wrought? It is the small businesses. It's the small farmers. It's the consumers who are facing a $4,000 tariff tax. It is the people that can't reach their Social Security contacts. Their spouse dies. They can't figure out what's going on. They're trying to do it online. Then they're asked for an ID. Then they're trying to make a call. Can't get through. Field office closing. That's what's happening right now in this country. So I'm worried about the whole economy, but I'm mostly worried about the immediate, and that is the people that don't have the means to take this on, aren't invited by Trump to the White House, aren't invited to the Treasury meetings. That's what we're seeing in this country right now. And when people say, how are you fighting it? We're fighting it in the courts, over 100 cases now where they found what he is doing illegal or unconstitutional. Democrats are fighting it in Congress. You saw it with the vote that we did on the Canadian tariffs. You're going to see it this week again on that front. and then we're fighting it with our constituents on our side. And we are sick and tired of this rubber stamp Republican Congress. It is time for 4 Republicans to stand up in the Senate and 4 Republicans to stand up in the House, and the results will be different for the American people. But this is the state of the economy in the 100 days since Donald Trump has been in here. And never have I ever seen an anniversary. We always do this stuff. You guys are used to it, 100 days, 100 days, 100 days. Look at the polls. Look at the change. Look at the drastic effect it's having on Americans. That's his 100 days, and he owns it.
Senator Booker.
So first, allow me a point of personal privilege to say a word about my chairman, Dick Durbin. I came to the Senate about 13 years ago, and in Dick Durbin I found a mentor, a friend, and a true leader. There are a lot of bills that I lead in the Senate that are associated with me that actually were bills that Dick Durbin gave me to lead, and I will tell you this. The mark of a great leader, in my opinion, is not somebody who says, follow me, but that empowers other people to be leaders as well. He has 18 months left, but I wanted to take this opportunity to tell him again publicly how great he is in my eyes and how grateful I am for him shaping my career. So thank you very much. So, 100 days. I do not need to speak. Schumer does not need to speak. The truth of the matter is the American public has already rendered their verdict. This is the most failure, fantastically, of any president in 4 generations. The American public has already made it clear, Donald Trump, you have failed us. He has the lowest approval rating of any president in 80 years. And why? Because he has consistently said one thing and done another. He has lied to the American people and betrayed those people who put their act of civic trust, their vote for him. How so? Well, first and foremost, he said that he would manage the economy better. He said that he would lower people's cost on day one. Across the board, we see Americans' prices for home goods, for baby carriages, for groceries going up and up and up. And he has so tanked the economy that there are thousands of Americans right now who thought they would retire this year because their 401ks had enough resources for them to do that are putting off their retirement. Number 2 is he said he would drain the swamp. Well, this is a staggering lie. This president has literally brought in the greatest corruption in the White House ever. Exhibit 1, frankly, is this meme coin that he created. He has literally done something that is so unconscionable that he is selling attendance at the White House to people who buy his meme coin, which is a way for people just to deposit money. This president has already grifted millions and millions of dollars from his position while costs are going up. This president has eviscerated people like inspector generals who were put into place to call out corruption. Number 3, this president has been a foreign policy failure. He again told the American public, I will bring an end to the Ukrainian war on day 1, to the invasion of Ukraine. And what he has done instead is he has called a hero a dictator and coddled up to the dictator in Putin. In addition to that, he has alienated our allies, said in the most demeaning and degrading way that he was going to make Canada a 51st state, and gave license to China to have influence across the globe as we, through our cuts in USAID, have retreated. We had sent a few people over after the disaster in Myanmar who got fired while they were doing the job, while the Chinese stepped up and brought millions and millions of dollars of resources to people in aid. That used to be America. He lied. He said he was going to be a champion of free speech, and now he is attacking college campuses, cutting resources that we need for scientific investment, going after private businesses like law firms and making them heel in front of him, or he will unleash economic peril in a way that is unconstitutional and illegal. And finally, this president is trashing our Constitution. Again, don't listen to us here in Congress. Listen to the Supreme Court itself. When the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court does the rare thing to rebuke a president who called for the impeachment of a judge because he didn't like his decision. He is not respecting the separation of powers and the equal power of each branch. But more than that, the way he intimidates and trolls judges has seen threats on our judges go up as he has singled people out and targeted them online. This is the president that now has no respect for our Constitution or our constitutional traditions. And so again, the American people have spoken. He has set a record in my lifetime and beyond for fantastic failing in a way that truly has even Republicans standing now against him on his policies. We are in a crisis moment. This president is out of control. And the question is not what Democrats are going to do, but what the Republicans in Congress will do. They know it is wrong, this tariff war he has unleashed on the globe. They know it is wrong when the Secretary of Defense violates our national security with his use of a public app. The Republicans here know it is wrong what he is doing in undermining bipartisan spending plans. They know it's wrong when he's impounding dollars that go to help local communities. The question is, what will, after 100 days, Congress people do as we now see a bill in this work period that is threatening to cut health care for millions and millions of Americans? Why? Why gut Medicaid, which he promised he wouldn't do? Why is he pushing to do that? Because he wants to give more tax cuts to the wealthiest in our country. It is time for more people to step up and say, this is not left or right, it is right or wrong. This is not about party, this is about patriotism. It's time to recall the conscience of all Americans, Republican or Democrat, to say no. Stop the lies, stop the corruption, and do not keep your hands off the Medicaid of millions and millions of Americans.
Thank you. Let's go. We gotta go pretty quick. Go ahead.
What do you think is the difference between Republicans and how they responded to President Trump during his first term and what you see now?
Well, I think they're much more afraid of him now. He's done much more in terms of threatening them, in both privately and even publicly. And I think they're also far more, they're squirming because they know his policies are so unpopular, so they don't know what to do. They're between a rock and a hard place. On the one side, Trump's threats. On the other side, the American people who hate what Trump is proposing. Yes.
There's a poll out today that has your approval ratings lower than any other congressional leader, 17%. Are you concerned that you may be a liability for your party?
Polls come and go. Our party is united. We're on our front foot. We're stepping forward and going after Trump and having real success. Yes. Look, I'd say one thing to you. I don't trust Trump's numbers. Okay, last one, because it's 3 o'clock and we have the gold medal ceremony.
Your colleague, referring to the meme points that Senator Booker was just talking about, your colleague Senator Ossoff suggested that President Trump has committed impeachable offenses last week. Do you agree with that? Do you think that he has done that?
That's far down the road. Far down the road. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe and tell your friends about us. This program is copyrighted by Federal Network, Incorporated, and provided only for informational and educational purposes. Unauthorized reproduction, distribution, or use of this episode without expressed written permission from FedNet is prohibited.